Hey everyone, welcome back. First of all, I want to offer a couple apologies. First of which is because if my audio sounds different than it usually does, maybe less crisp, I apologize because it has been a massive heat wave going on these last few days, extremely hot, and my air conditioner behind me is really loud. And in the past, if you go back in some older videos throughout my different channels, you'll definitely notice, like, if you, I don't know what videos they are, but there are certain videos where it's like, I could not deal with the heat, the air conditioner has to be on, so there was like a constant background noise, which is annoying, I think. So I tried the OBS noise suppression filter, but I did notice it was, obviously it's going to hinder the quality a little bit, but for my test run, I couldn't hear the air conditioner at all, so I don't know, I feel like this was a better than with the constant background noise. I just did this batch of videos with this filter, so if I hear it back and it's glaringly bad, I might alter things, but so just keep that in mind. My other apology is because I'm late on this video, of course. Usually I try to get these out early on within the first week or two of the month, because I'm going to be talking about the movies I watched in the month of May, which we're almost at the end of June when I'm recording this. When this gets uploaded, it'll be even closer to the end of June. And yeah, so then it'll be like a week or two turnaround before the next one. But the reason for that is, I think the first week that I pushed it back, that was just because I wasn't in the mood for it. But then after that, I had a couple of different things, sickness and injury, that I had to go deal with that, and I was not really in the space to be record videos those weeks. So here we are. As always, this is a video I really like doing each month. I'm gonna be ranking every movie I watched for the first time in the month of May. Now, ranking can be arbitrary at times, and I'm never like 100% confident in my rankings usually, and I'm like, this could change. Like, you ask me a month from now, it might be a completely different ranking, but really the point at the end of the day is it's an excuse for me to talk about all the new movies I watched. This isn't just movies that came out this year, it's just movies in general that I've watched for the first time. Any rewatches will not be in here at all, so fresh watches. So there's 11 films this time around. What I've noticed, if you go back to the first video I did of this, I think in February, I had like 23 movies or something, and then just a little bit below that, and it's progressively gone down. That wasn't really intentional. I never expected to be doing 20 plus movies a month, but it's just, obviously you go in and out of being all in on movies or not sometimes, or at least I do. And so my essentially my goal I've set for myself now moving forward, at least for the sake of these videos, is to have a minimum of 10 new movies that I've watched for the month. So it's like at least a more compelling ranking rather than like 6 movies. It's like, okay, like rank those, but what's that really doing for us? So we got 11 here, but without further ado, we'll start from number 11, work our way up, and there will be no spoilers. Never ever. My goal for these videos is to have no spoilers in them, because it's like, you don't know what movies are going to come up each month for me, just randomly my batch of movies I happen to watch. And so I want you to be able to watch it and not fear spoilers popping up or have to skip around or anything. So always will keep it spoiler free. Number 11, The Final Destination. I hate this naming convention that some movies do, where it's like you have numbered up until a point and then it stops, and they're like, oh wait, actually we should go back to numbered, and then maybe it stops again. It's like, I should have mentioned up front, I did a video a few weeks ago where I talked about how I watched all the Final Destination movies and I ranked them in that video. So 6 of the 11 movies I watched this month were Final Destination movies. I'm going to gently or briefly touch on each of them, but not going to go into too much detail. If you want to go check that video out, obviously, because like if you haven't seen Final Destination 1, then you haven't seen the rest of them, so it's going to be like a nothing burger for you probably. But I'll briefly touch on the Final Destination. Is the 4th one, and it's easily the worst one. It's actually Whereas I think the movies in general are kind of flawed by nature, and they're kind of campy, corny, whatever you want to say. That one in particular, I think, is the only one that's objectively bad, and really bad at that. I thought it was significantly worse than the next highest Final Destination movie. One of the worst movies I've watched this year. Really, really horrible. Like a completely unlikable cast of characters, horrifically bad graphics or special effects, which is something like Final Destination up until the most recent one hasn't been great with that, but this one was for some reason so much more glaringly bad than the others even. And so it was just not, the kills weren't even that interesting, so it was like, yeah, struck out in all ways. And yeah, easily at the bottom here. Number 10, Clown in a Cornfield. Clown in a Cornfield is a horror movie. I don't know if you heard of it or not. It was in theaters briefly. The reason I actually watched it is because someone I follow mentioned that it was a real return to form for a like slasher movies. And it's like, it's not, she wasn't saying it's like an amazing movie or anything, but still spoke highly of it in that way. And when I watched it, I was definitely severely disappointed. I found it didn't give me very good scares. I didn't think the characters were very compelling, and the plot in general was like, didn't do anything for me. And then as far as the slasher film goes, the kills weren't even that anything to write home about. It was like very forgettable kills for the most part. And yeah, it was kind of a snooze fest for me. So, you know, if a movie's boring and the story's not compelling to me, that's pretty big hits against it right there. Number 9, Lilo and Stitch, 2025. I have seen Lilo and Stitch, the original, multiple times. I'm very nostalgic for it. So I did rewatch it this month, but that's not going to be on this ranking. If you want to go to my other channel, Tarkaron, Tarqaron, we did do a review of both the original and then a week later the live action remake here. And we were both kind of in agreement that we didn't like it. Though this is an interesting one in that there are definitely some people who are fans of it or thought it was just okay. And more so than the past couple live action Disney remakes. But for us it just didn't work because it took out a couple of things that some deviations in the plot didn't really appreciate in terms of the ohana of it all. And honestly, the most unforgivable thing, well, there's Gantu not being there. That's not great, but obviously live action's weird in general. I don't know how that would have looked, but the biggest crime to me is what they did to Jumba. And he's such an iconic character in the original, and especially in the series, the TV series, you get really attached to his character more and more. He stands out more, and his writing has been some of my favorite in that show, because I just actually earlier this year watched the first season of that in its entirety. And yeah, they butchered him in this movie, completely changed his character, changed his voice, and yeah, the vibes are off. And they even did away with the fun disguises that you get in the original. It was almost kind of blatant how it was clearly just saving budget. It's like, okay, we're not gonna have these CGI characters this whole time. Let's just make them humans, and that's them being disguised. And it's like, none of it really worked for me. I didn't think the performances were particularly great. And yeah, it's just another example of why did we need this? The live action remake, it falters in ways that the original never could, because the original has such expressiveness that I think lends itself to Stitch. Stitch is still solid in this movie. He's one of the best parts of the movie, at least, because you still have the original voice actor, and he's still pretty cute with the CGI version. But there's something obviously missing with that when you bring it to live action. And then even Lilo herself, like, she's much more expressive and zany in an animated, when she's in an animated film, versus this. You know, you gotta water it down a little bit, which I don't appreciate. So yeah, it didn't work for me. It's one of my least favorite live action Disney remakes, unfortunately. Not many of them are great, but not a great one here. Number 8, Final Destination 5. Now, Final Destination 5, there are definitely elements I really enjoy. The way that the film resolves, and that was kind of like, whoa, that was a big kind of like mind blown moment for me. I appreciated that little twist to it. I like that. And but for me, just the characters weren't very interesting. That's the biggest thing. You know, in any of the Final Destination movies, the characters aren't anything to write home about. They're not like, man, I'm really rooting for this person. Really? Like, there's some you root for, but it's not like you're totally committed to their story. But there's a difference when you got some more surface level characters, which you see in this movie, more unlikable characters. And for me, the opening sequence and everything didn't work for me as much as it did in the others, which is kind of a big landmark part of the Final Destination movies, is that opening sequence. So for me, it's aside for the Final Destination, the bottom here, but not bad. Like, I don't think it's good, but I don't think it's bad. It's eh. Number 7, Final Destination 3. Final Destination 3 is the one with the roller coaster. You know, this is how you remember these Final Destination movies. As what is the starting thing? What is the gimmick this time? The roller coaster one. The reason this one stands out particularly for me is, first of all, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I think, is probably the best, at least close to best lead of the Final Destination movies. Probably the best. She just does a good job at carrying the movie. And then, again, the characters aren't that great overall, but for me, what makes this one stand out, and where I struggled with whether this one or 2 was higher often when I'm considering ranking them, it's because the opening sequence with the roller coaster, that was actually like viscerally, like, that was like, it was like scaring me. Not like jump scares, but it was like a scary feeling I felt that I didn't really feel in any other Final Destination movie. It's just gonna give me the chills. Like, for some reason, amusement park rides and accidents and all that has always been very like, ooh, it's like a weird, it's rough subject for me. Like, I'm morbidly curious about it, but at the same time, it's like the saddest, the most tragic. Some of the most tragic accidents to me are those. Because it's like everybody's going there having the most fun, the fun of their lives. They're just no concern in the world, just having fun, and then just tragedy when you least expect it. And it's kind of terrifying in the ways they usually unfold. And they did a great job of capturing that here. And yeah, I thought it was a solid Final Destination 1. Number 6, Final Destination 2. This one is also really solid. Perhaps the most iconic opening sequence of a Final Destination movie, in terms of this one that's a fear that's stuck with a lot of people, with the log truck, and I just really appreciated how this one unfolded. It was an interesting deviation from the first one, and that we were like, the way the girl went about trying to prevent the things was a little bit different, and I liked how that unfolded. And still has the same stuff you come to enjoy for the Final Destination movies, the crazy kills, and I did appreciate how they had the character from the original Final Destination in the mix as well. That was a cool dynamic to explore. Yeah, it's a solid entry. Number 5, Final Destination. This is the 2001. This is the most, like, when I first watched it, I was like, wow, this is so cheesy. The writing is pretty corny, and it's like so over the top, like, ooh, hardcore, edgy. Look at these kills, and but also they're like, they don't look particularly good, and the acting is not particularly great. It's like a weird mix of all that I still ended up respecting in the end of it. I'm like, okay, I kind of respect it, even though it is not really a great movie. I respect it. But it is objectively a great concept, and so that's why I give a lot of credit to the original 4, is for laying that groundwork with such a compelling concept. The whole Final Destination idea is really interesting, and even just making slight deviations each entry, it's still effective for that reason. It's like a solid framework to just make a movie on. Even if it's formulaic, it's predictable. The first one, you can't say that about it. You know, it's not as predictable. Well, I did note, like, I particularly noted in this first watch, is that the kills are very telegraphed and everything. I was like, oh wow, this is very telegraphed. Really spent a lot of time on this person leading up to it, all these different horrible things that could be happening. But then I realized as the series goes on, that's kind of intentional. That's part of the formula that they want to do. But it's not predictable in the sense that you don't know what you're getting into yet if you like hypothetically watching it for the first time. So I do admire that, and that's why I have it above most of the other entries. There's the one above it that I'll talk about, but 1 to 3 have always just batched together. Like I could rearrange probably them in any order and not be mad at it. Those are the solid ones. Final Destination 5 a little bit below that, and then the Final Destination way below that. So number 4, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. This is another movie that we did review on Tarkaron, if you want to check that out. We're doing a monthly movie night series where we alternate picking the movie. So this was my friend Alex's choice for me to watch. You know, I was always curious about it, but I was probably never gonna just go ahead and watch it. It wasn't on the top of my list really, so I'm glad I did, because it is a lot of fun. It captures that Dungeons and Dragons spirit. It's one of those movies where it's like it has no business being as good as it is probably, and you would never expect it to really be a good movie. It's like, oh, they're gonna phone it in. It's gonna be some corny just play on the Dungeons and Dragons brand. But no, they actually they gave the brand some respect, and at the same time poked fun at different elements of it and played with it well, and they did some creative stuff with it, a clear narrative vision and a fun little cast of characters that yeah, I'm glad that they did. And it's a solid movie. It's not one I sit up at night thinking about. There's not really much to take away from it. It's just a fun time, and I enjoy it. Number 3, Thunderbolts with an asterisk. Thunderbolts, this is another one that's just solid to me. It was a fun time. MCU I've been in and out of. It's not really a clear intentional decision of mine, but I just have missed out on a lot of the recent ones. Yeah, it happens to be a lot of the ones that people don't speak highly of, yeah, but it really wasn't an intentional choice of mine. It was just kind of my interest wasn't as there, so I didn't feel as compelled. I didn't feel as compelled to jump on it. Any of the more recent ones as soon as they came out. You know, I keep up with the Avengers ones, and then I've seen the odd one here or there since. But I do want to eventually catch up on all of them and the series and everything, because I've only seen the Falcon and the Winter Soldier and WandaVision, so I'm way behind on those two. But this was fun, and it's interesting because you kind of the most essential viewing for this movie is Black Widow, which is one I did see, which is like an interesting one. I think that's where kind of like, as much as this was more critically acclaimed than their recent Marvel movies, I think it probably fell flat in that way, because even when I saw the trailers for Thunderbolts and whatnot, I was like, I don't know, there's some fun characters in here, but I wasn't that, like, I need to see it. I just happened to be kind of in my bag now where I was trying to see more and more movies, and so I was more willing to just watch it on a whim. And I was delightfully surprised at how solid it was. Some fun writing, the comedy of it, the different dynamics between the characters. Ultimately, the resolution of it was a little weird for me. But yeah, my point was I was trying to make, I forgot. My point was that kind of having Black Widow as the one where you meet most of the characters, or the more important characters here, is a weird one, because I'm sure Black Widow is not the most mainstream of the MCU movies, so it's less marketable by its nature. And so I'm not surprised it didn't do as well as the reception reflected. But that also might just be a product of the last several movies, you know. It's a solid movie. It's a lot of fun. Number 2, Stand By Me. This is one interesting. A lot of the different movies this month are tied into different videos I've done. This is one that I got from a series called Letterboxd Picks What I Watch, where I go onto a random Letterboxd user's profile, and whatever, like, the first of their 4 favorites I haven't seen, I'll watch that movie if it's readily available and it's $5 or less. Is essentially my guidelines for that. And So I did briefly touch on it in a video for that recently, or not recently, a month or so ago. Stand By Me is a classic. Was it 1986 that I had never seen? I definitely had seen it in passing on TV, but never watched it through, because I definitely distinctly remember certain scenes, but definitely never sat down and watched it and paid attention. And I'm so glad I did. This is definitely, I can instantly tell why this was a nostalgic movie for so many people, and it really is a classic because it stands the test of time. As much as it is a product of that time, it's like an 80s film through and through, and their childhood friendship reflects a much different time, but it still gives you that feeling that I think most people can relate to, just the camaraderie between friends at a young age, and even the overall message of the movie. That's like, I don't think anyone really has friends like they did at that age. Or you're lucky to have friends of that caliber if you do. You're just such a strong bond at a young age when you have like all the time in the world that is unique to any other time in your life, and it captures that well. It's a really nice, wholesome friendship in there, but kind of a darker themes at play as well in there, and they don't shy away from them, and I appreciate that. They really had a great cast of child actors, which I feel like is more and more common nowadays to have like some great child actors. Whereas you look at movies of the past, there's a lot of examples you can point to of child actors just being not great, and that's just kind of what you expect from movies. It's like, okay, anytime a child comes up, they're probably not going to be a great actor, but that's what it is. But no, we had 4 leads. Like, these child actors led this movie. They carried this movie, and they were all great. And I didn't know anything about what transpired with River Phoenix until I watched this movie and then looked it up afterwards. Like, where is he now? And that was so sad to me, especially reflected in how the trajectory of the character in the movie. It's almost like it's wild how there are similarities in certain ways, but such a gifted young actor to be cut short. Like, what was it? He was like 23 when he passed away tragically. It's just a shame because we could have seen so much more out of him, I'm sure. And I never knew Will Wheaton was in this movie. I never knew that. I never knew that Jerry O'Connell played Vern. Like, I know Jerry O'Connell now. If you look at him, you would never guess that that's who played Vern in the Stand By Me movie. And so it was wild to me. But and then Kiefer Sutherland in here. It's just like some wild ones I never knew got their start in here. And really cool, great movie. Really great movie. Number 1 for May 2025 is none other than Final Destination Bloodlines. I actually loved this movie. The more and more like I watched it a second time because I enjoyed it so much, I brought my girlfriend and my mom to see it, and I loved it even more that time. I feel like I get more and more of appreciation as time has gone on, and I loved it out the gate. But it's the only Final Destination movie I can say is a genuinely well-made and quality film. Whereas, like, I think the 1 through 3 of Final Destination are solid in their campy nature, but you can point to things like, you know, the visual effects of the movie. Like, you can point to those things and be like, oh, that objectively doesn't really look good, and some of the performances aren't actually great, and the writing not always the most solid, but you appreciate them for what they are. But Final Destination Bloodlines takes that, and it's the first time in the Final Destination series where the technology has caught up to the concept. Genuinely, the technology is now there to where we can make the kills actually look good and still deliver a similar vibe to the originals. It captures the spirit of what the Final Destination movies are, and it's very tongue-in-cheek in different ways with how it plays with that, and it's a little meta about it, but overall it stands on its own. You can easily watch this without having seen any of the others and appreciate it. But also it has a lot of fun Easter eggs to the original movies and tying things together in an interesting way. The opening sequence of this movie which I talk about with all the Final Destination movies. It's what you remember the most to link the movie to it. It's so good. I thought it was really good. It's amazing. They created their own thing. It's an original thing. You know, it's not like airplane. I did mention this with the original Final Destination, but that airplane sequence is very iconic as well. I think that's a great initial starting concept. Airplane, the pile up, the roller coaster, the bridge collapse. Clear, distinct things based on pre-existing stuff. This one, Bloodlines, has pretty much an original concept for something, and it has a lot of fun with it, and it looks amazing. It actually genuinely looks amazing, the effects of it all, and it's so effective in how it all unfolds. It really grabs you from that opening sequence, and then the twist that it does on the entire Final Destination concept is cool, and there's actually some lore to it all. There's a little more depth to the story than any of the other Final Destinations, and amazing creative kills, absolutely. And it doesn't shy away from doing some goofy stuff that's also like, ooh, you're cringing because like you know what's about to happen. It does some stuff where it subverts your expectations. I just think it's an all-around as a stellar film. I really loved it, and absolutely, it's easily the best of the Final Destination series. You got 1 through 3 in the middle. Final Destination 5, a slight leg down. You have the Final Destination way down here, and Final Destination Bloodlines way up here. So it's a big disparity between the worst one and the best one. Pretty wild, but I loved how they did things with this film, and wow, yeah, it just happens to be my favorite of the month. There you go. That's all the movies I watched for the first time in May 2025, and it's interesting because there's been a whole other month almost since then. So I'll be talking about June's movies in just a couple weeks. Alright, so I'll see you then, and as always, you can subscribe to this channel for anything movies, TV, and reality TV. I have Zach Archer Games if you want to hear me talk about video games. I have Zach Archer if you want to hear me talk about music. And I have Tarkaron if you want me to see me collaborating with my friend talking about most of the above, as well as a variety of other stuff, and Survivor every week. Alright, thank you for watching, and take care.